like to call the January 27th, 2026 City of Charleston Traffic and Transportation Committee to order and begin, if you don't mind, please, with a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, our first order of business, which is not on our agenda, is to welcome the newest member of our committee, Councilmember Scardon, to the TNT committee. We're happy to have you. Looking forward to working with you. This is a committee I think that you'll find to be very engaging and entertaining. We do meet in person.
In a good way.
And we also meet on city council days. So that's all good, right? All right. Questions, comments? If not, we're going to get right to it. The first order of business is approval of our minutes from December 16th, 2025 from last year. We got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Mr. Oziak is here from Charleston County to talk about the Charleston County Transportation Project updates. This, by the way, for those who are watching, is not an update on the upcoming referendum. This is, I believe, we're going to hear about the projects that are in the pipeline for the city of Charleston based on monies already collected in the TST. Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing this. Thank you. The floor is yours. I think that's on. Is it on? Just give it a tap. No. All right. Well, what happened there?
Okay, so for the screen to come up.
Here we go. By the way, before we begin, just for everyone's information, Councilmember Brady is attending via Zoom. He's on the other end. All right, have at it.
All right. Just get my slide clicker. All right, now we're cooking. All right, so first we're going to cover projects that have been recently completed. We'll call them substantially complete. We're still waiting to do some financial closeout or maybe some punch list items before we fully wrap up the project.
Just before you start, just tell us where this money comes from. I mean, we've got some new people in this committee and new elected members. So
Sure.
Just give us a quick background if you don't mind.
So we'll be going over a combination of projects that are funded through both the TST, the sales tax or an allocation program, and also the CTC, which is the Charleston County Transportation Committee, which is the state gas tax funds.
So half-cent sales tax and gas tax. All right, thank you.
And I did not indicate it on this slide which one is which, but I can follow back up with a PDF and annotate which project comes from which funding source.
Great, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
All right, so starting off with our Courtney Drive at Dowdy Street. This is a signal upgrade for pedestrian crossing. This project is 90% complete. We're just waiting to address the punch list items and do the final invoicing for project closeout. Next is our East Bay Street sidewalk. This was also recently completed. Again, we have our contractor out there just doing the last little bit of punch list items, waiting for vegetation to grow, and then we'll do our final invoicing and project closeout on this one. Romney Street bike lane, you can kind of see a picture of the construction in progress there. This project is substantially complete. We are still waiting, however, to put the pavement marking down, basically the sharrows for the bike lanes. Right now, we're just having issues with temperatures, trying to get those down. So once the temperatures warm up, we'll have our subcontractor go out there, lay down those pavement markings, and that will wrap up this project to close this one out. And then last are our series of pedestrian improvements. This one right here at the intersection of Stalker and Chadwick Drive. Some new pedestrian crossing and curb ramps. This has also been substantially completed. We're still waiting for a bus stop and some amenities from Carter that's placing there. But once that's done, we'll have to wrap up this with our contractor final invoicing and project closeout.
Are they putting a full shelter up there?
Yes, bus shelter with trash receptacle.
Great.
Now for current projects under construction, I'll say this is not currently under construction, but however, we have received bids and we are going to council February, I believe the 19th for contract award. So this would be the right turn lane at Ashley Hall and Sam Rittenberg, about $880,000 project. Again, we'll be awarding this to the contractor in February, anticipate our pre-con meeting and issuing notice to proceed in March. Our Central Park Basin Drainage Improvement Project. On the pictures, you'll see the tidal floodgates that have been recently installed. This is to help improve the flooding there on Central Park. We're actually raising the road about 2 feet in this section. Most of the funding for this project does come from other grant sources rather than the CTC funding. Recently, we opened the road to allow for the lights at James Island. We've had to now close that road back up so they can finish doing these tidal gates, pull out the coffer dams, do the final paving and guardrail installation. We're looking to open up the road, I think, towards the end of February and project completion in April.
That's going to be an incredible improvement to that corridor right there.
Yeah. Next is a Country Club Road and Folly pedestrian improvements. This was a project where we had to receive additional funding in order to move this project forward. We finally got that funding. We received 3 different bids. We are going to council for award again in February and then holding that pre-con in March with the contractor and issuing notice to proceed. Fort Johnson Road at Camp, and then we also have our Fort Johnson at Secessionville. These both projects are being undertaken concurrently. We have already taken down the stone monuments at Camp Road and have relocated those to a James Island storage facility. They are working on the surveying and wrapping that up, and then they are focusing construction first on the Fort Johnson and Secessionville project. So this will be constructing this, making this a traffic signal at this intersection here with dedicated turn lanes. So they're moving forward on this, doing those utility relocations, and we are working to schedule a community update meeting sometime in early March to update residents on current construction and what's to be expected the next couple months. Next is our biggest project currently, our main road in US 17, with the big flyover ramps there onto Johns Island. Right now we've wrapped up all of our clearing operations for vegetation. We're working on our utility relocations. Pile driving out in the marsh is about 45% complete. I know there have been a lot of complaints from citizens out there about the noise overnight. We have since restricted our contractor to no longer drive piles between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So that should help people get a little better sleep out there. And then we have received the last of our remaining environmental permits. So now we can go full bore with all construction. There's nothing holding us back any further with environmental permitting.
How is that project funded?
This is funded fully through the 2016 TST.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah, the total project cost on this one is actually approaching almost $450 million when you account for right-of-way costs. And then now we're trying to add on to widen the additional bridge to provide those pedestrian facilities. And we've also issued a change order to incorporate a dedicated left turn lane onto Old Pond from Main Road. So that's driving up the cost a little bit more than what you see here.
It's gonna be a game changer.
It will be.
Who's
We have
the contractor?
this is a joint venture between Archer, United, and Banks Construction. We have our public meeting scheduled for this on February 4th at St. John's High School. I want to say, I think 6:30 is when that starts. And right now we're on schedule to start the construction of the roundabout at Main River and Chisholm beginning the second quarter of this year. And if everything goes according to schedule, that roundabout and the new ramp flyover from 17 should be open before the end of the year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Not a moment too soon.
No. I mean, they could use the traffic relief out there.
Yep.
Maybank and Woodland Shores complete streets. Again, this is the installation of the sidewalk along Woodland Shores and in that mid-block crossing on Maybank Highway by the poorhouse. We've completed about 70% of the storm drainage and sidewalk work on Woodland Shores. We have already started work on the Maybank mid-block crossing, which you can see there here doing the night work on the new formed median there. Right now, construction is still ongoing. I want to say August, I believe, of this year is the contract completion date, but don't hold me to that. I can't recall off the top of my head. And then our last one under construction is our Oceanic Street multi-use path. This connects up to the skate park there by Magnolia Development. We received just a single bid for construction on this one. We already held our pre-construction meeting with the contractor KTC that we're going to issue them notice to proceed starting February 9th. You see construction, I would assume, start fairly soon after that. They've got about 180 days to complete the construction contract.
Is it just parallel to Oceanic? Is that what that is?
Yes.
That's it?
And then we got some other projects that are coming to be advertised. These are projects that are likely to be advertised within the next 2 to 3 months, if not sooner than that. We've got a lot of these that are in the hopper with our procurement group and are just kind of making their way through legal review before they get placed out for bids. So first is starting at Ashley Avenue and Congress Street. We've actually combined this with a couple other crossing projects to kind of get some benefit of a package. Estimated construction cost for this one is a little over $250,000. This package is down in procurement, and so we anticipate advertisement sometime here in February.
We've been talking about this project for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Those will be very happy neighbors.
Yep. This Ashley Ave and Hugie Street, this is also being combined with that Ashley Ave and Congress, along with a couple other projects. Again, it's down in procurement. We anticipate advertisement in February. And then once we get those bids, review those, take it to council, and get working on construction. Calhoun Street and James Island Connector. This is a project we have already bid once before and received no bids on. We actually gone and asked for some additional funding in case bids come in high. We've added some additional time to the contract to allow for the additional time it takes to procure those decorative mast arms. So right now, this is down again with our procurement under legal review. We anticipate advertisement of this project in early February.
So I know that one's designed and we've been talking about it for a long time. I was asked today, when you're coming off the connector, is there actually going to be an island or sort of something right there at whatever street those, what's the street there?
That first starting into the MUSC, they will be, so when you're coming on the connector now, if you come across, you'll have two lanes that can go straight on to
Right.
Calhoun. You won't all necessarily have to be forced to take the Lockwood ramp any longer.
And you're going to widen it south towards 4th Street, right?
Right, right. And then you'll have it, that dedicated left turn lane there to help get into the hospital.
Got it.
And then Central Park and Riverland Drive, this is a combination of kind of an intersection improvement at Central Park and Riverland with dedicated turn lanes from Central Park onto Riverland, and then installing a sidewalk down Riverland, improving some sidewalk that's there, and then constructing parts where no one currently exists. We do have our Army Corps of Engineers permit and working through getting our DES permit. We do have authorization right away from DOT. We've made all of our offers. We've got one condemnation we have to process before we can go to advertisement. Final plans are under review by the DOT. We have to take a package to our council for some tree removals. Once that's all said and done, we're looking at advertisement in late March, early April for this project. City Golf Course Crossing and Sidewalk Connection. This was another project where we received bids that came in way over our budget by about over $200,000, and we had to go back to the CTC to get some more money for this project. We since received that back in November. This is also down with our procurement, ready to re-advertise this project in February. Our Columbus Street and America Street, these are some, again, pedestrian improvement projects for some curb extensions and those rectangular rapid flashing beacons to help enhance pedestrian crossings. We're going through our last TRC round of comments, reviewing our drainage, and then we are working with the city for easement acquisition. I think Trinity Trident School owns a little small piece of sidewalk there, so we're trying to get an easement to make sure that's open for public use. Once we get all that set up, we're making good progress. We're anticipating a third quarter advertisement for this project. Our Fleming Road sidewalk, this is about 700 linear feet of 5-foot sidewalk down Fleming Road, starting at Maybank. We've got all our permits in hand. We've got an easement plat to convey to the city who's going to be taking over some of the small drainage easement maintenance. And we are anticipating advertising this project second quarter 26. Our Folly Road Bike and Ped Improvement Project. This is part of the Rethink Folly package of projects they're trying to do. We had advertised this one earlier, received bids that didn't meet the DBE requirements, and we're going back and forth with DOT. And at the time, DOT ended up dissolving the DBE requirements, but at that point, it was too late. We'd already canceled the bid, so it was just a bad timing is how it all worked out. So we're having to rebid this project again. We're currently working with the DOT on some language for the contract. Anticipate advertising this one again, probably late February of this year. And then we have two projects on Old Town, two pedestrian projects, both multi-use paths down by the new Old Town Creek County Park sidewalk, and then to the entrance to the new state park, as well as the new county park that's going in there. So we've combined these two projects together. They'll extend that multi-use path all the way down to St. Augustine Drive. We are bundling these projects, advertising these first quarter of 26. St. Philip Street and Cumming Street. Again, this has been packaged with those other projects I talked about, Ashley Ave and Congress, Ashley Ave and Hugie. Getting ready to advertise this in
Please
February.
get someone to bid on that. I mean,
I think we've done this, advertised this project, I want to say 3, this is probably the 4th time we've advertised.
So do you have any clarity? We've had these conversations, Mr. Mathis and I, maybe give a little bit of an update. We keep hearing that we cannot get contractors to respond to our bids. But as I understand it, talking to other mayors in different parts of the state, we're somewhat unique in that here locally. This is really more of a Charleston issue or Charleston region issue. Are you seeing the same thing?
We're seeing the same thing. I will say we're starting to see improvement where we're now seeing multiple bidders on projects where we were getting one or none. So it seems to be making improvement, but yes, I mean, I think we've noticed for a while now, it's hard to attract new contractors to the area and break into the construction game. I'm hoping, if this third TST goes through and we see another 25-year investment in transportation infrastructure, hopefully that'll bring some new competition to the area.
Thank
So last time we got an update from y'all, I guess it was Mr. Tillman who did it. There were two things we talked about. One was bundling projects to bring the number up, right? Make it a
Yes.
little more attractive. The other was that y'all were going to think about going back and reconfiguring perhaps some of your bonding requirements on smaller projects. So you didn't have to have contractors with super bonding power, that they could actually get into these projects without having that requirement.
Yep.
Have we made some progress on that?
We're doing both of those things right now. We
Okay.
did one project before where we advertised and eliminated the bonding requirements, and it didn't really seem to make much of an issue as far as the bidders. But we're going to keep at it for some of these lower value projects that really doesn't make much sense to bond triple time the value of the project, and see if we can get some more bites at the apple that way and just keep pushing. We're meeting with contractors associations, continually to try to help peak interest in Charleston County. So
I mean, do you have a tool available to you of sort of like on-call contractors for projects that are less than a certain amount?
I think that's what we're going to be looking. I know Mount Pleasant has
This is
something
the
like that
perfect
set up.
project
This
for
is something for something small project. We're also looking at even having our own field operations crews go out doing some of these sidewalk projects. There's not a whole lot of drainage involved or traffic control, simple concrete work they can do.
Right. Well, this one's a perfect example. This is a needed project. Now you've gone before, but you're right in the middle of a college campus. We're trying to put some safety projects in place. We can't do it. It's
Okay.
frustrating. Thank you.
And then next is our Savannah Highway capacity improvements. This is actually 3 projects bundled in one. We've got intersection improvements at DuPont and Stinson, intersection improvements at Wapu, and then we have intersection improvements there at Magnolia and Avondale Avenue. We are anticipating advertising the DuPont, Stinson, and Wapu intersection improvement projects this year, sometime late February. And the Avondale improvements, we are currently working with the city to acquire some right-of-way that's needed for that project. And once that phase is wrapped up, we'll be moving forward with final plans to advertisement, more likely by the end of this year. And in our Old Town transportation improvements, this is there at the Ashley Town Center at the intersection of SC7 and 171. This is going to provide some intersection improvements along as bike and ped improvements throughout the corridor. We do have our right-of-way plans approved, and we've got 5 last properties we're in the middle of trying to acquire and avoid condemnation as much as we can to try and keep this project moving and get it out to bid. Again, hoping to complete right away and permitting by the end of the first quarter, likely advertisement late second quarter or early third quarter 26. All right, and so that's all everything projects we've got wrapped up construction, under construction, or it's getting ready to start construction in the next couple months. This wraps up the remaining projects that are in various stages of design. One, we got our Cumming Street at Bogard Street curb extensions. So again, another pedestrian improvement project with RFBs, curb extensions to help decrease the crossing distance and signage to enhance safety. We've got the survey underway and have 30% plans by mid-February. In March. And then Cumming Street at St. George, again, a very similar project with pedestrian calming and RFBs. I think our consultant out there actually did a 8-hour count out there and noticed, I think like maybe 10% compliance where people were actually stopping with pedestrians
No,
waiting there.
I live
mean,
there.
they just blow right through there.
I live right there, and I can tell you, nobody stops at that crossing.
Yeah.
And by the way, the crosswalk should be on the south side of George, not the north side of George, because it's one way, and you got pedestrians only looking one way.
Yeah.
So
So I think we're looking to shift that location and then put those RFBs there to help draw that attention to the
you
pedestrians.
got to have a huge traffic count right there.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, sorry, well,
All right.
both.
Folly Road at Harborview. This is a relatively new project we just awarded this year. We've got our survey underway. This is going to be some, again, traffic and pedestrian improvements at the intersection with the dedicated pedestrian crossings and crosswalks and some new sidewalk on Folly connect with the Carta bus stop. We have our survey underway. We expect 30% plans by the end of this month. Again, hoping to advertise this project by the end of this year if all goes according to plan. Magwood Drive at Ashley Crossing intersection improvements. This is another new project recently awarded through CTC funding. Total project cost is anywhere from 3 to 5 million, depending on the scope of the project. We're still kind of deciding if we want to go with a traffic signal here or a roundabout. We did put out for initial scope and fee proposal, came back at $475,000 for the design effort. We've only got $450,000 in funding. And with the state procurement restrictions on CTC, we can only issue a contract up to $100,000 without having to go issue a separate RFQ. So we're working with city staff right now, kind of determine the best steps forward, whether we want to scale down that proposal to just look at some conceptual design and traffic studies, or do we want to go ahead and go a whole separate RFP route and just do the full-blown design? So
I've got a question about that project. Other than funding, what other factors do you consider in determining whether to put a traffic light up or put a traffic circle in?
a lot of that would be based on the traffic counts. So if you got pretty balanced intersections, it makes a roundabout makes more sense. But if you got skewed traffic where we got a real heavy traffic in one direction versus another, sometimes there a traffic signal can make more sense. And then our Maybank Highway, this is the 4th lane project coming off of Johns Island onto James Island. So design work is underway. We've recently wrapped up design on 70% plans. SCDOT just sent comments the other day back to us. So we're reviewing those, and we've already started utility coordination and environmental permitting. In some early discussions with Dominion Gas, they've got a pipeline underneath the roadway currently. They're looking to most likely relocate as part of the project. So we're trying to work with them now, see if we can get some of those relocations done ahead of time before we start construction. So once we go ahead and advertise, we'll be ready to move forward unobstructed. And we anticipate advertising this project 3rd quarter of 26. Let's see, we got Meeting Street and Morrison Drive pedestrian improvement, mainly here focused on the north leg of the intersection where no crosswalk currently exists. We'll be installing a crosswalk there again, along with most likely a pedestrian signal. We've got our scope and fee finalized with our consultant, and preliminary plans are due late February. Mutual Drive sidewalk here in West Ashley off 17, about 450 linear foot. We do have our DOT comments have been addressed. We are waiting for approval of those plans, and then they're still working with the limited site plan review where we have to go to the BZA for some tree removal. So we're working through that. Anticipate advertising this project 3rd quarter of the year.
Alex, can I ask you a
Yes.
real quick question? Can you go back one more? That one? That's also on the route with LCRT. Are you working with the LCRT
Yes.
engineers on this?
Yeah,
one?
we're waiting to get some plans from them to make sure our designs are meshing well.
Okay, because I mean, that's coming right through there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Another sidewalk project, North Nassau Street. Again, it's a small segment of sidewalk, about 325 feet. I know we had some initial talks with the city about potentially managing this project and combining it with one of their drainage projects. But after some back and forth, I think the county's going to take back over this project because we really can't commingle with the drainage money. It just based on the restrictions we have with the TST and what we can spend that on. So once we get our new TST IDC in place, we'll be issuing a scope and fee proposal to go ahead and get work started on this project. Our North Bridge bike and pedestrian improvements, this would be providing a standalone pedestrian bridge where the North Bridge is today. We are submitting to get a build grant that would provide funding to allow us to do some preliminary engineering design. We're going to seek about $10 million of that grant funding. We've applied, this will be, I think, the 3rd time we've applied for build grant funding, and each time we've been unsuccessful, but each time the needle keeps moving closer and closer, it seems, to us getting awarded. So we're hoping, 3rd time's a charm here on this one.
So if I might, I think every time that y'all have applied for the build grant through the county, this committee has sent a letter of encouragement and support. Do you need another one? That's the first question. Secondly, as you know, we've been talking mostly through chats in the BCD COG with the DOT about whether or not that bridge is going to be repaired or replaced. I'm assuming that you're coordinating with them too, because if
Yes.
the DOT determines to build an entirely new bridge there, then this project would become redundant.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
But please keep it moving forward because we need it.
That's what we're trying to, hey, we can always return the money if we don't need it. So
Thanks.
next is a Riverland Drive pedestrian project. We're calling this phase 3 of Riverland Drive. We've constructed a previous phase. Can't remember the exact Crepe Myrtle Drive, I think is what it was, down up to camp. And now we're doing the Crepe Myrtle between Henderson is under design right now. And this is the next leg, which takes you from Henderson down to Franklin Galliard. We have our kickoff meeting already was held with our consultant. We're waiting our design and fee proposal for the design services, and then we'll be issuing task order and getting started on survey and design work on this project. And then we have Rutledge Avenue and Fishburne, another curb extension and pedestrian improvement project for the city, which again will probably likely include those RRFBs. Again, we got our scope and fee proposal already received from our consultant, which is under review. We anticipate issuing that task order and have preliminary plans by the end of March. And then Savage Road sidewalk, we actually have two projects here on Savage Road. One is a section of sidewalk. And we're doing some last minute potholing to make sure we're not having any conflicts with CWS out there. And that's tied into, I'll go a little bit forward and I'll go back. Our US 17 to Savage intersection improvements, which is going to extend that right turn lane from Savage onto US 17 and lessen that curve so tractor trailers aren't hopping over the curb and hitting any pedestrians who are waiting there in the corner trying to cross. So those two projects are being bundled together and will be advertised in the second quarter of 26. Now let me go back a little bit here to our SC 61 and Muirfield Parkway crosswalk. Again, another project to increase pedestrian safety. We're actually going to be shifting the location of that crosswalk to the north side of the intersection. Again, putting RFBs out there and providing a direct connection to the school for students who live on the other side of the road so they can get across safely. We should be getting 30% plans by the end of February and then beginning our permanent coordination. And we're anticipating advertising this project by the end of the year. And then Sycamore Avenue bike and pedestrian improvements. This project is kind of on hold waiting for SCDOT to make a determination if they're making a project there or not. This was identified in one of their road safety audits. We've been in talk with their engineer, and it seems like plan development is just progressing at a slow pace. But we don't want to move forward with our project if they're just going to come back a year later and rip it all out. So we're kind of just doing some early coordination here. And if they really drag, we're going to just go ahead and move forward with our project. And that wraps it up my presentation. I'm sorry it was very lengthy there, but as you can see, we got a lot of work going on for the city.
We're happy to hear about them. We want to hear about them when they're built too. So any questions for any member of the committee for Alex? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Look, a couple of things, if you don't mind. I think we kind of glossed over it really quickly. Back to the project at 4th Street, the connector and Calhoun. It's got two features that one you will see, the one you won't. I believe that project also includes a check valve that's going in right at the base of the bridge, right, Matt? I think the biggest check valve we've ever put in is sort of impede the flow of water from the river back towards that western edge of the peninsula. Secondly, am I right about this? I think at the base, at the first left turn, there's also going to be an all-way pedestrian crossing. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that the first one? I know it's the first one in the city. Is that the first one in the county? I mean, is there another one anywhere out
Not
there?
that I'm aware of.
Hallelujah, right? You got to start somewhere. That's amazing. But I mean, that will be a huge safety improvement there.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Thank you. You're welcome to come
Thank
back
you.
anytime. We appreciate it. All right. Next on our agenda, the mayor had to step out. He will be back, I believe. Is SCDOT road transfer request from the city stormwater management, Culbertson Drive. Mr. Fountain, I saw him sitting back there. This is your baby. If you got something to say about it, do it now, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a road we're taking over as part of the Windermere Drainage Improvement Project. Went through Public Works Utilities Committee. That committee was supportive of it. We're basically doing a box culvert installation under this section of small frontage road in front of the school there in that neighborhood. And DOT's asked us to take over the entire road as part of that work.
I think we talked about this. You okay with that? Sorry. Okay, this I think needs a motion and needs to be passed on to council. Can I get a motion, please? Got a motion? Is there a second? Got a second? First on the record. Here you go. You're in. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Matt. Okay, I saw Councilmember Brady pop up. Do you have a question, Councilmember Brady?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, with the time remaining, which is about 25 minutes, the next thing on our agenda is a discussion regarding e-bikes. Councilmember Gregg has been pushing this, but before we just start this discussion, for those of us who are going to be engaged in this discussion, I think it's fair to say we are all around this table very interested in looking at how we manage e-bike use in the city of Charleston, which includes Daniel Island, which is in the county of Berkeley. So we got split governments, but we've got one government here, which is our city. And I can just tell you, I think Councilmember Gregg, I'll let him make some introductory comments, but we've gotten a lot of comments about the need to do something about e-bikes on the streets and sidewalks of the city of Charleston. So my commitment as chairman of this committee is that we are going to do something that's meaningful and that we're going to be able to enforce. That being said, there's nothing on the books yet. We haven't put anything in writing, but I think there is some sense of urgency. And I'll tell this quick story and then turn it over to Councilmember Gregg. I was not in the city of Charleston this morning, but I was in the county. I was in Mount Pleasant running, and I came to an intersection, a four-way stop sign in the dark. And through that stop sign was an e-bike at full speed, which was certainly greater than the speed limit of that street, blowing through the stop sign on one wheel, probably about 30 miles an hour. And I mean, it's really gotten out of hand. So with those introductory and probably biased comments, I guess I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Gregg for some comments, and then I think we'll talk to our team and our staff and see what we can do. And I would like to note that Chief Walker and team are here, so we're going to engage you in this conversation too. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you,
Councilmember
Mr.
Gregg.
Chairman. Yeah, I guess first I would like to thank staff for your work. Mr. Rumlin, Police Department, Ms. Copeland with our city's legal department for helping us come up with some potential solutions. Echoing Mr. Seekings, Chairman Seekings, this has become, I'd say, one of the biggest issues in District 1.
It's crazy.
You know, and it's centered around safety. We're concerned that pedestrians are being run over with these, I wouldn't even call them e-bikes. That's kind of a misnomer. I'm calling them e-motorcycles or e-dirt bikes or something like that. We got to come up with something a little more sinister to call them, but, because that's what they are. You know, we see the stunts on city streets, with, you know, kids that don't have fully formed prefrontal lobes. So I think this is where government probably needs to step in and implement some necessary change. The state is typically a little slow to respond to these kind of things, and so I'm hoping that we at the city can come up with something a little bit more restrictive. You may have seen the memo that was passed on by our city police department. I guess, you know, in that, in consideration of that, I want to make sure whatever we do is enforceable, that we're not putting administrative burdens on our police department that are already administratively burdened. So hauling kids down to family court is probably not a good use of your time. So hopefully those of us on this committee and the police department can come up with a proactive solution here to help improve safety and reduce injuries caused by these e-motorcycles. That's what I'm going to go with right now. I guess, you know, from my perspective, after having read through the documentation and seen what other municipalities enforced, you know, one, I want to make sure we do a total ban on e-bikes on sidewalks in the city. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. Second, you know, I would like to see an age restriction. I think that kids under the age of 16 probably shouldn't be riding these. We don't let kids under the age of 16 drive cars unsupervised, and I'm thinking that's probably an appropriate age for this. So that being said, open it up for discussion. And Chief, I'd like to get your thoughts on you know, what you think is enforceable here and how you think we might best go about implementing this.
Let's do this if you don't mind. I'm gonna start with Steve, with Mr. Rumlin first, and we'll just have a little conversation. He has compiled a memo. He's sort of looked at what's going on around. He's going to tell you, but the closest jurisdiction we have to here that has actually attempted to do something about e-bikes happened to be the jurisdiction I was in this morning, and I can just tell you what they've done isn't working, and you know why? Because it focuses on one thing that I think is basically unenforceable, which is the speed limit on these e-bikes, and how are you ever going to enforce that? So Steve, if you don't mind, sort of tell us what you found, sort of what your recommendations are. And the other thing is, we don't even have a definition in our city code currently of what an e-bike is. Am I right about that? So anyway, I'm going to hand it over to you, sort of give it to us. Introduce yourself, by the way, because we've got a new member of this committee here. And
Yes, sir. I'm Steve Rumlin. I'm Assistant Corporation Counsel, and I work primarily over with the police department. So,
well, welcome. All right.
So currently, we do have in our ordinance that you cannot ride a motorized bicycle on a sidewalk or a shared use path, but there is no definition of motorized bicycle. So that seems to be a somewhat antiquated term that doesn't have a definition in law. The state does define what e-bikes are, and basically they're low-speed electrically assisted bikes with 2 or 3 wheels. They have to have operable pedals, And I think the key distinction here is they have electric motors of no more than 750 watts or 1 horsepower, and they have a speed limit of 20 miles an hour when operated by a rider weighing 170 pounds on a paved level surface. So I'm imagining if we do actually ticket someone, eventually we're going to have someone saying, well, can you prove that this thing actually goes 20 miles an hour with a person that weighs this much on it?
I mean, I don't think we're gonna equip our police vehicles with scales,
Right.
right, to weigh a bicyclist. Thank you, chief.
But by federal law, they have to have a label that indicates the amount of horsepower they have on there. And I think I read that Mount Pleasant in the middle schools, that if you want to ride your bike to the school, they actually have some kind of a registration mechanism where they go inspect the bikes and figure out if they're that 750 or lower or above. Because if they're above, then they become mopeds, and even higher up, they become motorcycles, and you have to have a driver's license to operate one of those. State law doesn't address the use of e-bikes on sidewalks or shared use paths. It does give us the ability to regulate the use of bicycles. It doesn't specifically mention e-bikes, but there is a provision that says e-bikes are entitled to all the rights and duties of a bicycle. So I think we need to do some more research on that. I did find some AG's opinions that says we can obviously regulate sidewalks and shared use paths. There's AG opinion that says we can regulate helmets, but I haven't run across anything that says that we could prohibit people of a certain age from not riding these, but more research is necessary on that. You mentioned the Mount Pleasant ordinance. Basically, there's age limits on this. Children under the age of 17 can ride on sidewalks and shared use paths. Adults can ride on shared use paths if they have a child under the age of 7 with them. Sidewalk is designated as a shared use path. If there's no bike lane on the road adjacent to the path, then you can use it. And then you mentioned the speed limit of not exceeding 12 miles per hour, which
I mean, with all due respect to our friends in Mount Pleasant, that is an ordinance that is unenforceable, period.
right.
I mean, I don't, at least this is me talking, want to go down that path. If we're going to put something on the books, and we need to, it's got to be understandable, enforceable, and we have to get buy-in from you and your boss that there's going to be enforcement, right?
And then just some of the other cities around South Carolina. Greenville doesn't have any laws regulating e-bikes on sidewalks or shared use paths. Columbia prohibits them except for motorized wheelchairs. Hilton Head permits them on bicycle and pedestrian pathways. Isle of Palms, Keo Island, Seabrook Island e-bikes are prohibited on beaches, and Myrtle Beach allows e-bikes on cart paths, bike paths, and pedestrian pathways. Not specifically addressing sidewalks. So we looked at some of the possible recommendations would be to prohibit e-bikes on sidewalks and shared use paths with no exceptions. Basically, if you have an e-bike, you have to ride like a bicycle on the roadway. Prohibit e-bikes on sidewalks and shared use paths with certain exceptions. Some of the exceptions were the Mount Pleasant exceptions for children and for speed. Which
Mount Pleasant's 17. That's not children.
Right.
Anyone 17 or under
Right.
is an exception.
Well, and I think, Chief Walker has his opinion on this, but I believe he's against the age and the speed.
I mean, if you're
exceptions.
old enough to be riding an e-bike, you shouldn't be riding on a sidewalk, right? I mean, you're not out there training your kid to learn how to ride a bike on an e-bike with training wheels. If you are, then you got some parenting challenges, right? So, I mean, we got to talk. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
We could designate which sidewalks or shared use bike paths can be operated on. So some places it might make sense, other places it might not. We talked about confiscation and forfeiture of e-bikes. We had some issues there with due process. Our municipal court doesn't have jurisdiction, and there is no state law that would authorize us to take the property. And then other ideas, designate certain periods of the year, days of the week, or times of the day when e-bikes can be operated on sidewalks or shared use paths. If they're being used to go to school, it would only be certain hours that you could you could ride on the path, otherwise you couldn't. And then licensing and registration requirements, the downside of that is obviously the administrative aspect. I think we had a conversation about bike licensing and very few people actually go out and get the bike licenses, so.
Well, we had a bike registration ordinance for a long time. We abandoned it because it just didn't work.
Right.
So, all right, well, here you are. What is your recommendation to us? Where do we go now? I mean, I think this committee wants to send something to council. What are we going to send to them?
Well, I mean, the current ordinance talks about motorized bikes. We obviously need to clean up the definition, but it prohibits them on sidewalks and shared use paths. I think that's where Chief Walker is, and we need to.
I think that's your cue, chief. Come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. And
Thanks for being.
Steve summed it up pretty much spot on from the police, the public safety standpoint. It's just the shared use pathways. And then the reckless use of vehicles in the street, I think it will qualify under that. We're not trying to overcomplicate this, and it's really going to take an educational period. And partner with school district once again and parents. You're going to have to educate them on what we're seeing and some of the public safety issues that is concerning us from the police standpoint. So.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Gregg.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Rumlin. I guess, my concern is, if we clean up the definition, if you police the sort of stunt riding or whatever, that we see, I suppose that'll probably fix most of the aberrant behavior. And maybe I'm hoping it's an instance where like, you do this 5 or 6 times, but ultimately we're going to have to haul these kids down to family court if they're under the age of 16. Am I correct in saying that? Or if they're under the age of 18, don't we have to haul them down to family court and prosecute them there?
They can be prosecuted in municipal court. The problem with that is if you issue a citation to a child, chances are you get to the parent.
Yeah, so it's a little more, it's multi-layered, and we're gonna have to, really manage expectations. You're not gonna solve all your woes with this ordinance, okay? It's just like any other ordinance that we have in the city, but making sure it's realistic and something that we can enforce. I'm not writing a citation to a 6-year-old
Right.
on an e-bike.
Well, it's not the 6-year-olds.
Well, but it's gonna have to cover all our communities. So
Right.
you have those type of kids that's gonna be on e-bikes, and it's gonna have to be something useful and something manageable that we can handle on the public safety side of the house.
Right.
So,
I mean, sidewalks is easy. You can
Yeah.
see if there's one on a sidewalk and I'm assuming that your team is educated enough to know what an e-bike looks like as compared to a regular bike, right?
yeah, and it really is an educational standpoint. This is where you do talk to the parents. It's the exact same things that we're doing now, but right now we need some teeth with some type of ordinance with a little more substance than what we currently have.
I could see that as an interim step. I guess I would like to see if there's a possible way we can require registration. If we already have the infrastructure in place for a bike registration, can we do something with an e-bike registration where if you want to ride an e-bike in the city, you have to get a decal or something? I'm throwing it out there for thought, and we can certainly explore that a little bit more. I guess it sounds like in the near term, the quick fix is to give you a little bit more, some more teeth to pull over some of the kids that are stunt riding down.
Well, no, I mean, we can stop, if you're recklessly operating anything in the roadway that can constitute a public safety, we can
Okay.
enforce that. So this ordinance is pertaining to the e-bike specifically, but reckless behavior in the street, we can enforce that now,
I'd like to weigh in a little bit on that. I mean, I think if we focus on place, not people, and we come up with the right solution, and that is just flat out no e-bikes on pedestrian passageways,
Yeah.
the registration becomes less important because we already know what the rule is. You just can't be on the sidewalk. You're off. I think registration just has some administrative challenges. And if you're on a sidewalk, you're already in violation of a city ordinance. They're going to pound you with another one. You didn't register. I don't know. I mean, I think what I'd like to do, and it's up to the committee, but I would think I'd like to pass this back to Steve to get us drafted up something that clears up and cleans up the definition of an e-bike and gets them off the sidewalks, period. And see if that passes muster here, and then we'll send it on to city council. Just got to get a commitment, chief, from your team that if we put something in place, that we're going to get some
Well, that-
education and we're going to get some enforcement.
And that's everything, it's nothing that we don't, that we sweep under the rug. So
I
if it's
understand.
on the books, we address it.
All right.
So, but it's really educating our kids and parents. And it goes back to one of the other issues I won't bring up downtown, but asking parents to be parents
I understand.
once again.
Right. All right. Councilmember
Yes, sir.
Scardon has a question.
Does the current motorized bike ordinance include anything on requiring people to wear helmets?
No.
Could that be considered as part of this, that if you're operating an e-bike, you must wear a helmet?
That's PG's opinion that basically says that's permitted, although it's from 1979. But I still think we do have the authority to do the helmets. And I'll just add that, as Chief Walker said, that if you're on a bike and you're in the road, you have to obey all the same laws that a car.
Got to stop at stop signs. Ha ha
Right,
ha.
so running a stop sign, that's something that we can, and there's also a provision in state law that talks about reckless operations, so.
I think the helmet idea is another way to help identify someone's on an e-bike. I mean, if we define what an e-bike is, and it's 1 horsepower, 750 watts or less, you can go on a bike just as fast as you can on an e-bike. I mean, about the same thing, right? So, I mean, I think that's an identifier, but let's get something drafted up like by our next meeting.
One of the other issues, I guess, Mr. Roman, I'd got to get your opinion on this, but I mean, there's a group on Daniel Island, thanks to Scott Noonan and Lisa Ranko for sort of organizing the community around this issue, but they have shared some interesting information with me about how you can very easily doctor an e-bike. So even though it might have the nameplate that shows 750 watts and under 20 miles an hour, they shared a YouTube clip, and it looks like, an enterprising young fella could probably fix that in about 3 minutes, and it could be far greater than 20 miles an hour. And so is there a way we can draft the ordinance so that if we determine that the thing's doctored, or if it's been aftermarket modified, can we, because I think there are a lot that fall within that definition of under 750 watts, but they've been doctored so that they're far faster and far more dangerous than that.
Well, then they're not an e-bike anymore, and then they'd be subject to speed limit laws, right?
Then you need a moped license.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we can add that in there, and that there'd be a training component to that. Have someone come in, train our officers as to how to write. So,
Okay, thank you.
My request personally is keep it as simple as you possibly can, but make it effective. And that's a challenge, but, right, I mean, but that's kind of what we're asking, and that's what we need to do. I will just tell you, we're getting hit hard by this. So, and that tells me that there is a desire out there for us to act and do it quickly and responsibly. So we're going to meet again in a month from now. So if we can have something to review before we meet again, that we can then take up and pass forward to council, that would be great.
You have it.
Great.
Okay.
Well, get a draft. If you can get it to us well in advance of TNT, then each one of us can comment on it if we want to and build on it or subtract from it, whatever it is. So when it gets here, it's a good, solid piece of work that we can pass through and not, have to make changes on the fly. Okay? Is that fair enough?
No, and appreciate y'all taking up this. And I know it's been one of those prolonged issues that we've been trying to address. So, we support you.
And one of the things I haven't done is given Mr. Somerville or Mr. Mathis a chance to weigh in. Do y'all have anything to add on this conversation? They're your roads. All right, we're about to put a bunch of e-bikes on them, I think. All right, thank y'all. We'll see you in a month with something in hand, and we'll try to get it through. Okay? All right, I think that's the last thing on our agenda, and that's good because we're heading to the end of our time. Is there anything else for the greater good or for the committee? If not, by acclamation, we'll stand adjourned, and we'll see y'all in 4 minutes.